Growing up in a small town, I learned that connections go beyond blood. They're built through shared experiences, friendships, and the moments we celebrate together.
So I was born in Southern California, raised there till I was about 12, and then my family moved to Hawaii. And we lived in Hawaii. The first year there, my father passed away of a heart complication, and we stayed there for a few more years. And then my brother, who is an attorney and was like the family, lead, said we need to move the family back to the mainland because my mom was there with 5 kids. And so on Valentine's Day 48 years ago, I met my bride. We've been married 45 years, and we met on a blind date on Valentine's Day. And we actually came to Lehi. The Colonial House was made into like a dance hall. And so they had a Valentine's Day dance, and that's what they said, well, take her out. Passed away at 4 months. And so my wife said, she felt that I had a knack for this medical stuff. She said I could diagnose things that, I would ask the nurses, well, what could it be this or could it be? I didn't have any medical background. It just seemed logical to me. So my research has been continuous since 1985. And then I had a good friend of mine. She had gotten her nursing degree, and she says, why don't you get your nursing degree? And I went, well, okay. So I decided, well, I could go to school and get my paramedic and maybe get a job, or I can go to, because there was a nursing shortage in the early 80s, or I can get my nursing degree and definitely get a job. And then I decided, I don't want to do that anymore. So I quit Utah Valley. I went PRN part-time at American Fork and went up to LDS Hospital and became one of the nurses up there in their trauma center. I worked as a trauma nurse up there, still picking up shifts in American Fork. He walks in and basically racks a shotgun and says, your departments are now married, so if you're going to stay, if you're fire, you're going to stay, you have to get your EMT certificate. If you're EMT and you're going to stay, you have to get your fire certificate. This was early, probably later, no, it was early 90s. On the wall, Sandy City Fire Department was looking for a medical officer. And they wanted a nurse. They wanted a nurse with fire certs. They wanted a nurse with EMS certs. And I said, well, I got all that. And they decided they needed to have another management, which is called a battalion chief. It wasn't a true battalion chief, but so it was more like an administrative chief officer. And so we did a lot of the rich and famous that would be in Southern California, jump in their little jet, fly up to Heber, get in a private car, drive higher up to Park City, and for some reason they're at 10,000 feet altitude when they're normally living at a 0. And they come up there and now they're short of breath, they have chest pain. It's just like hello, and so we would get those people and help them understand why they're
having a hard time.
And I teased her and I said, you can't be a math teacher. She said, how come? I said, because the only numbers you know are 5, 6, 7, 8. She goes, that's not funny, Dad. Would you tell her she saved my life? And I said, how did she save your life? She goes, she taught me how to read. When somebody calls 911, they don't ask for 2 Dallas firefighters in a pickup truck. They want 5 decathlon brain surgeons to come and solve their problem. Do you want you? I want somebody to respond, because your worst day is going to have to be my best day. If your worst day is not my best day, and your worst day is my worst day, then something bad's going to happen. We were the first agency in this county that would read an EKG, identify that it would be a heart attack, and then bypass our local hospital, which was American Fork, and go to it's called a PCI, percutaneous cardiac intervention lab. I like to say, if you ain't the lead dog, the view never changes. When our baby was born, he was born with a heart defect called tetralogy of Fallot, and he was also missing a pulmonary valve. They had no idea how to fix it. They had to call Australia.
Wow.
They were the only ones that were doing any surgery, and they had to call Australia. Now, TET babies are normal functioning kids, and there's no issues.
Emergency medicine.
I would tell anybody, if they're in high school, I would tell them to take the CNA classes or the EMT class at the high school level. So I would tell anybody that's high school age, the brain gets developed at about the age of 23, and they should be able to handle some of the things that they see after the 23 and older. Younger than 23, their brain may not be able to adapt and take in what their eyes are actually seeing. Get an idea and see what it's like. I would say go through ours, not because I teach there, but there's credits. It's a 9-credit class, you know, and they could use it towards a degree later on. That's what I would say, is get that so you're marketable, and then start testing at fire departments. A fire department would rather have you spend the $6,500 than have them have to spend it, you know, to put somebody through paramedic school. Now you're marketable. Your worst day is my best day. One of the studies that I read of Israeli ambulance personnel And about 99% of all Israeli ambulance personnel has some form of PTSD. But I would venture a guess that almost everybody in EMS has got some form of PTSD. And then I looked, and his legs weren't bent at the right place. Oh. His lower legs were snapped off, bent back, and he was like into the ground with his bones. You know, Gallows humor, and a lot of people don't understand, you know, some of the things that we say, and it is a coping mechanism. It's a big coping mechanism. Yeah. And we try to tell the crews, be careful when you get out of your rig, because you may be talking about a previous call and laughing about it. Yeah. And as you get out, people see you laughing, and they think you're laughing about their situation.